Hello from your favorite travel couple. We just finished exploring our 41st country together. We are on a cruise celebrating 1 year of marriage together, and we wanted to just give you a little background on our story. We've been sharing it bit by bit, and we wanted to talk about our very first trip we ever took together. Where did we go?
We went to Benin and Togo.
It was an amazing trip. It really helped us get to know each other. We were kind of just acquaintances at the time, but maybe became a little bit more. But before we jump to the story, let me just show you where we are. We are on our balcony here, overlooking the ocean. Beautiful view of Greece, enjoying life. So much enjoyment. Enjoyment won't finish us. So our very first trip, I had about a week to take off of work, but it wasn't a full week. I actually was I was in a new job and I only had like a couple of days of vacation. So strategically managed I could go to Nigeria for a week. I had like Monday was a holiday, Tuesday, Wednesday took off, and Thursday, Friday I worked remote from Togo actually to make this trip work. And so I flew out to Nigeria, second time coming there. I flew out to Nigeria, and we had already known each other. We had told the story about how we met on couch surfing and we were just friends, and I was like, hey, I want to come back to Nigeria. She had been to Benin and Togo before, so I was like, who not better to go with than someone who knows the way, who's been to those countries. And so I flew out and I was a little afraid of Nigeria. I didn't know like where to stay, what would be comfortable. And I wanted somewhere with good internet because I had to work. I had to work like Thursday and Friday. So I stayed at the Sheraton, and you came and met me there that very first night.
Yeah, so we were supposed to go on this trip together. I don't even know why I said yes to that trip, because I've never traveled with a stranger before in my entire life. But you know, I was in my era of, yeah, let's just do it. Like, you know, take some calculated risk and see where it leads. So the second time he came to Nigeria. The first time he was stranded during COVID. So the second time he reached out to me. I was like, okay, I've been to Lagos before, but it was just for a night and I didn't get to see Lagos. I would like to visit again, but this time to explore. Can you show me around? He reached out to me on Couchsurfing. I was like, okay, why not? So I hosted him at my place. He stayed at my place. I was staying in a 1-bedroom apartment then, so I, left my room for him, and I slept in the living room. So when he said something about visiting Benin and Togo, I said, oh, Benin is just less than 5 hours drive from Lagos, and no problem, I'll be happy to show you, to go with you, because I've been to Benin like 2 or 3 times. And so I wasn't sure how the trip was going to go, but he took my word for it and started planning his trip. I was like, okay. So when he came and told me he was staying at Sheraton, the trip was going to happen. So like I said, I don't know how I feel about it. I was still like, am I really sure I want to go with this stranger to strange countries? It's easier to host him in my home because, to an extent, I have a little bit of control, even though that is also a risk, like sharing your home with a stranger as a female living alone, but I took the risk and he proved to be a gentleman, but now I'm going on a trip with him alone. Okay, so I went to see him in Sheraton. That was on a Thursday night. Thursday night I went to see him. So the idea was to meet up with him, have just briefly have a conversation about how our trip would go the next day. And my intention was to go back home that night because I didn't prepare to stay with him at Sheraton, But it was quite very late. He was working, so by the time it was done and we had our conversation, I think it was almost 10. And I tried to book a boat or Uber. I wasn't getting it right. I was like, okay, maybe after all, I'm going to be spending the week with this stranger. I can as well just spend the night and see how it goes. In my mind, I'm like, if this man acts funny, the trip is not gonna happen, because that's the rest of it. So we slept on the same bed. if you have stayed in Sheraton before,
It was
you
a
probably
king. It
know
was a very
how
large
big
king.
the bed is.
And well, I didn't really know you were going to spend the night. My memory.
I think I fell asleep. I don't
Yeah,
really know
yeah.
what
She just
happened.
lays down on the bed. I still have like maybe an hour or two left to work. She just lays down on the bed and like falls asleep.
I mean, you were talking to me and then.
Yeah. She just fell asleep. I was like, I don't know this person. Like, I barely know this girl. She fell asleep, and I was like, well, you know.
I think I was so tired because I came from work.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just quite weird. And I opened my eyes around 4 or 4 a.m. in the morning. I was like, what? I slept here. And funny enough, I was like, the way I slept on the bed, I slept at the edge of the other side of the bed. And I was sleeping like this, like facing this side. And I woke up, I saw him also sleeping at the other edge of the bed, facing the other side. I was like, okay. I quietly went to the bathroom, had my bath, you know.
Yeah, she woke up in the morning, but I remember that night just
Yeah.
thinking like, okay,
Yeah.
well, I'm tired. Let me just go to sleep. You know, I don't know, like, do I wake her or like what? So I just let her sleep there, and then yeah, you woke up the next morning.
Yeah.
You left. You went to work. She had a driver arranged to pick us up at Sheridan early Saturday morning.
Yeah, I arranged with the driver, Mr. John, and he picked up. Actually, when he told me about the trip plan, there was a time I was like, should I ask him? Should I not ask him? And then I asked. I was like, what is the room sharing arrangement? And he was like, I think he said something like, I was thinking maybe to save costs we can get one room, but was like, but if you're not comfortable with it, you know, we can maybe do 2 rooms, because I was definitely showing him around those countries or guiding him basically, because I didn't really know him then, you know. It felt like, although I knew I was going to take care of my feeding and all of that, but I just felt like maybe he was going to be responsible for the accommodation.
Yeah, I felt like I was responsible for the costs.
So
and
for the cost,
if you're going to
why-
show me, I'll pay for the trip.
Exactly,
And
which
so
is
that
why
was
I
kind of
asked
fair,
him
yeah.
that, how is the accommodation or rooming, you know, as a lady, you know, maybe because I'm African, it's not just normal to share a bed with a stranger, you know, that kind of vibe. And then when he said, oh, of course, and I'm also open to, you know, if you feel like you're not comfortable with sharing one room, we can also do 2 rooms. And there's something about me, I don't know, I take this nonsense risk. Please don't take that risk. Me, look at where it's, I don't think it was a risk that got us here. I think it was like vibe, you know. But I was just like, this one that is. So I will now say, hey, I don't want to share a room. You'll now be thinking, I'm a big girl. You cannot. I'm my man. I'm like, you cannot do anything. I'm going to share a room with you, and you know. So I was just like, okay, let me see how the first or second night goes. And if he acts funny, I had extra money on me, and I was just going to like either get my own hotel or come back home immediately. That was what I, you know, had in mind. So I said, okay, let's see how the first, second, third night, or let's just see how the first night goes. And yeah.
So I just want to thank our sponsor of this video, Tanalytics. So as I've been going on this trip, as I've been able to travel with Nikkei, the only way I was able to do that is because I have a job that allows remote work. The best way you can get a job that allows remote work is working in the tech center. And that's why I think Tanalytics is such a great company. Their mission is to help Africans and those in the diaspora gain the skills necessary to get out of their current jobs and move into the tech sector. And so they're offering a free masterclass. You can go to the link in this video and you can learn more about how do you get involved in the tech sector. How do you go from maybe an African doing a regular job to a job in tech that's significantly more paid, that allows for remote work, that gives you these opportunities. You really need certain skills, and they're not that hard to get. Skills like Excel, Tableau, Power BI, data analytics, these are so critical and in demand for a lot of businesses. And Tanalytics is going to show you how to get involved in the tech sector with this free masterclass. Completely free. Hear them out, hear what they have to say. Such an interesting company, what they're doing. I think they're really taking Africans to the next level, really helping them find amazing jobs. And like I said, the only way I could have spent this time with Nikkei was by being able to have a job in the tech space that allowed remote work. So that's why I think it's such an important thing to check out. So check out their masterclass, again, free. They offer it every Saturday. So if you're watching this video months or years from now, check it out. You can sign up and you can learn more about what they are doing. All right, so we get picked up Saturday morning by her driver, and this is where I saw Nigerian Shege. this is where I learned what that term means. Where I learned carry your wahala and go. All these things. So we had to drive to Benin, which means, my friend, semi-border, which you know, wahala zone. So this border was crazy. There were like 20 checkpoints leading up to the border. Some are even like 50 meters apart. And they're all like, Oga, what do you have for us? Give us something now, Mr. White Man.
Anything for the weekend.
Yes. It was crazy. But we passed through, we made it through. Yeah, lots of, well, what do you think about that? That was a good, good first intro.
I feel like it was a good way for him to also, see how things are done, the Nigerian way. We are not part of it, but if you want to experience a place, the authentic form,
you gotta do that road trip. You gotta see the real Nigeria.
And then that's where you learn how to toughen up and say, okay, I don't get anything.
Yeah, I don't get money.
And then since then, he left the JJC zone.
Yes, I know. And that's on that trip I learned the term JJC. I say I know be JJC now.
When he says that, they're like, I better make this one they go.
So we arrived in Benin. It was a little bit of a journey, but we get there, and then we were kind of budget traveling at this time, so we couch surfed with two people.
Yeah. Yannick, my guy, the first person.
Ghislaine was the second one. Yeah. Two amazing people.
So in Benin, we did not stay in any hotel. People hosted us. We stayed 2 nights in Benin, and first was with Yannick Foley, a guy I met in couchsurfing too.
And we slept in his living room on 2 mats, right next to each other. So we sort of had separate beds. It was like a mat. I think they were separate mattresses. I don't remember exactly, but we slept in his living room. And that was nice, but he was working a lot, so we didn't see him so much. But then Ghislaine, we stayed at her house, which was a little bit further out of the city. And we stayed in like the guest room, but we each had our own bed. But I remember, it was a mat. Yeah, it was a mat. We had like mosquito net. But I remember they didn't have fan or AC, and
my God,
we suffered. I learned.
He couldn't sleep.
Yeah, I learned.
I mean, I was able to, because I'm used to that kind of weather. Maybe let me put it that way, but it was just like when I wake up at night, I just see this guy was suffering. In my mind, I'm like, hey, sorry. Yeah, but it was quite a rough night for him, also for me, but not that bad. Yeah.
We had a cool time exploring. We went around the city. We went to that Ganvi, which is they call it the Venice of Africa. Really interesting place. And then we went to Ouida, which is sort of the home of voodoo and some of these things, and slave history in Benin. And there we did share.
That was the first time we officially shared hotel, or maybe outside.
We found just a cheap hotel room. That was actually pretty nice.
6K.
Yeah, it was like 6K Naira, but it was actually really nice.
I mean, nice. I mean,
it was clean.
It was clean.
Okay. It was this was not 5-star. It was very clean.
Guys, let me tell you something. We Nigerians now, we know they like to suffer. They like all those trenches thing. When I travel with this guy, I'm like, which kind of trenches this way they carry me, they go like this? Because even for my country, I don't feel they stay for this guy. They were quite neat, but I probably just expected that as a white person, we should be staying in 5 stars.
She never met this one.
This one, a trench white man. But I still love him to stay.
But I think that was fun.
I fell in love with him.
We shared a bed, and I remember you were telling me you'd think I would try and do something that night.
No, I didn't.
Well, you didn't think maybe me personally, but you were worried.
No, I was just worried genuinely. Of course, I said that at the beginning of this video. I was concerned about sharing the same bed with a man, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I've had few experiences in the past. Like I've shared. I'm kind of person, like, if you don't prove otherwise, I tend to trust people easily. So I'm always the one to say, okay, let me give it a try and let's see how it goes. And I've had some not so good experiences in the past, like you just share a space, not even necessarily a bed, a space with an opposite gender, and you will not live the same way you came.
They'll be going like this.
The face is even better. You know, you get. I mean, it's not. It's a very not something I'm proud of, but unfortunately, these are the things we see as female sometimes, and I was very, very skeptical. But I think that was one of the first things that made me respect this man here, guy. Like, in fact, I even feel he was maybe scared too, because there was a time he would tell me, can I excuse him so that we'll have his bath? In my mind, I'm like, excuse, what are you doing? I mean, that's just a joke. But for you to know how we both, you know, respected each other, I would go out for him to have his bath, change, and then come back in, and then he would take the turn to go out. We gave ourselves that privacy during that trip, and I am so happy that happened, because that made me see men in a different light. I don't think I've ever been so up close to a man like that in my life, like sharing the same space overnight with a man, and never felt molested. It may not even be that they touch me, but just the way they make me feel, you know. And then I start to get scared about, you know, something happening. But I was so comfortable with him, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, after that, after Ouida, we then said, okay, it's time to go to Togo, and we got to the Togo border, and I had heard from other Africans that it was open, that you could cross, but we found out that actually what was happening at the border, remember, this is in 2011 or 2021, this is during COVID still,
Yeah.
and at the Togo border, the borders between Benin and Togo were officially closed, so you couldn't cross. And basically the African way this is working is you just pay 1K and then they let you cross. And so she goes up and they're asking her for 1K, so she pays 1K so she can cross. And then I go and try it, and they're like, oh, Yibo, no. But they were speaking, but they were actually speaking French. So whatever they were saying in French, but they were telling us.
But they didn't let me go.
They saw me. They were like, no, not
they
you,
said
not
me,
you.
I can go, but no.
So we had to go. We talked to the border officials, and we were like, hey, you know, is there anything we can do? Like, you know, and they were like, no, border's closed. You can't cross.
Border is closed for him, but not
not for. Yeah, I was like, but COVID can equally be affecting any of us. Like, it shouldn't matter. But anyways, they wouldn't let me pass. So they told me we have to go back to the embassy in Benin, back in the capital, to get a laissez-passer, which is like a form that said that I could travel. So we went back, we kind of told a white lie. We told the guy at the embassy, we were like, yeah, my flight is from Togo back to America, so we need to enter. And he was like, okay, no problem. He would do it for us. We had to pay him, I don't know, it was like $60 or something.
Yeah, like 10,000 CFA.
Yeah,
it was 10,000
okay, like $20 maybe.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I'll do the form for you. But then the Benin embassy there it was the Togo embassy in Benin. They didn't have light, and so we had to come back like 12 hours later. He said we only have light at night. So it was like at night he was able to make the paper. We stayed with Ghislaine again, and then finally we came the next morning. We picked up the paper. We went back to Togo, crossed. But the next night, so again, I had to work Thursday, Friday to make this trip work, because I could only get like I was only allowed like 2 days off for my like first 6 months at my job. So I had to work, and so I wanted like a hotel with decent internet, and so we decided to stay at Onomo, which is a really beautiful, nice pool, everything, super nice. So I was treating her. I needed to stay there, but she was getting the treatment.
Guys, let me tell you something. That was how we entered this hotel, guys. These people, they have open bathroom layout inside the room. Like, there's no way you can have your bath and somebody's inside that room and the person will not see you.
So I would go downstairs and like wait. I would say like, I'll be back in 20 minutes, have your bath, get changed, everything.
And then
I'll come back.
And then do the same thing. Even though there was a time I came up, I didn't know he was planning to have his bath. He had to tell me, please, can you go downstairs for 10-20 minutes? So I want to have my mind. I'm like, it was, it made me realize that, it's not just about me. Right, sometimes we as women, we feel like we deserve to be protected. You should be the one to go out for me to have my bath. But when he's having his bath, do I have the right to stay there? No, of course I have to go downstairs.
I don't know you. You're just yeah. We don't know each other.
When just sounded like I was just like, okay, I'll go. I didn't even intend to stay, but the way he outrightly asked me was kind of, very funny. But yeah.
I want to say thank you one more time to our sponsor, Tenalytics. They help you get jobs in the tech field that you can do so you can have remote work, to have opportunities like we're talking about here, to be able to travel all of these cool places. So again, free masterclass every Saturday. Check it out, link in bio. So one of the things about the Onamo Hotel was the room was like, it's kind of expensive, but it wasn't terrible. But it was like the food there was really expensive.
Yeah.
So we would always go out to eat. So every morning, and some of these countries like Benin and Togo, there's a lot of like breakfast places. Like you don't see this so much in Nigeria, but you'll see like Benin, Togo, people selling omelets, people selling toast, tea on the side of the road. I remember we would always go out and have those breakfasts together. Yeah. And we really like bonded. We talked. That's when I told you about my family. And
I also told him, a few things about myself, my family, We would always walk down to the local restaurants like every night.
Yeah, we got that poisson acheke, the fish with acheke.
And then when we get all these local meals, when we got the fish and the acheke, we would eat together, wash our hands and eat in the same plate. It was quite a cool experience. I was like, okay. The first time he came to Nigeria and I met him, I was looking at him as just one of my guests because it wasn't the first person
and I thought I might never see her again.
So I was like, okay, it's a cool guy. I love his personality. I love how open-minded he is, and I love how he eats our food. Like he eats so passionately, and that was one of the things that just got me fascinated about him. But it was just nothing, no string attached. Actually, I didn't take it to heart or even think of it so much. I didn't expect I was going to come back. I had a guest before him, and that was it. But to see that trip together just made me feel like, okay, this guy is cool. Maybe he's going to be a good friend. We can stay in touch. Yeah, and I think that was how I felt during that trip.
Yeah, and so I loved connecting with her over those meals and just learning more about her family, her history, building those connections. I think that was like a really special moment. But then we had to make our journey back. So we left Togo. I had multiple entry Benin visa, so I was able to pass through Benin again, and then we made it into Nigeria. And I remember on this last car ride, we found someone at the border that was going to give us a ride to Lagos, and it was kind of a cramped car. Yeah.
And then we were like sardine inside the car.
Yeah, and I remember I kind of had to go like this.
It should have gone like this. But I noticed it was very uncomfortable. It was just doing it, and it was trying not to place his hand
like that. But that was the only way it could have worked.
Because if he had done that, his hand would have been like this.
And we were just friends. I can't be doing this. Yeah.
I noticed how he was doing. Then I just said, it's okay, you can put your hand behind the chair. Of course, it's not like he was putting his hand directly behind me. It was a chair. Like this, but he was trying not to have like physical contact. And I noticed how uncomfortable it was, just adjusting. And I was like, don't worry, around Safari, don't worry, I'm not.
But truthfully, I kind of had my arm around her. I kind of liked it. I liked it a little bit, but I wasn't going to admit it. I was saying I wasn't doing anything. But maybe I was doing something small. I was doing something small.
I was like, I didn't even know it was going to get personal. But I just noticed that I understand that you're trying to be respectful, but you're trying to be careful. You're trying not to make me feel uncomfortable. Okay, I'm okay. This place is already tight. His legs are very long. The chair was already uncomfortable. He couldn't, even sit well. And you want to break your hand again because you don't want to put your hand behind it. Put it. It's okay. I'm not complaining. And that was a very funny moment for me because I was like, okay. And I was like, okay, it's like,
what is this?
Now we can look back at that moment and say, okay, there was a little bit of a, but that time maybe we were still being stubborn, saying, we're just friends.
Well, so I distinctly remember after this experience going home and thinking, wow, this is a really amazing girl, but she lives in Nigeria. It's so far away. Like, Chris, don't do that. That's just, you're gonna be heartbroken. You won't see her very much. Don't even consider that. So I remember after that experience with her, I was like, you know, I was single. I had been looking for someone. I didn't know what I wanted. And I remember just thinking, that is what I want. This girl is what I want. So let me go and find that in the US. I was like, it's not gonna work with her. She's in Nigeria. Let me go and find that in the US.
None like me anywhere in the world.
Yeah. And I found that out. Yeah. So I went back home.
You tried to look for somebody like me now.
I went back home. We stayed in touch. Eventually, we planned another trip to Nigeria where things developed a little more. We'll tell you about that in the next video. You gotta have to subscribe to our YouTube channel here, and then we'll tell you in the next video kind of what that experience was like. But there was something here, and we kept chatting after, if you remember. Tell me what you were thinking after that trip.
Let me tell you something. So the first time he came to Nigeria, I remember, because I used to work at the airport and my office is not far. Of course, my office was not inside the airport. It was at the cargo terminal, but it's not far from the airport. I followed him to the airport and I stayed with him until he boarded his flight. I used to have this ID card that gives access into restricted areas where I can watch him leave. You know, basically be there until he gets on his flight. So the first day, I even came, I escorted him with my colleague, and he was like, bye bye. I think we didn't even hug, you know, we did like bye bye bye. You see, after that Benin, Togo and Benin and Togo trip, this was how we
gave her a big hug.
I was trying to say maybe, but this man wouldn't let me go. He was hugging me tight. I said, hey, it's like this man. There was one thing I wasn't confused about. Even if I was confused about how we were feeling, I wasn't sure how I felt about him, but I knew there was something maybe that could lead to a good friendship, even if it's not romantic. But you see that hug, I didn't mistake that hug, because the hug was different from the first. I think the first time we hugged, but it was side hug. The first time was like
maybe
this.
it was nice to meet you.
But see that second hug, after I was leaving, I knew that this man is definitely gonna come back. Yeah, it was that moment I knew he was going to come to Nigeria.
And I did. Turns out we got married, if you can believe that. Turns out, and we're celebrating 1 year of marriage on this amazing cruise. So, it's over here. So, thank you for listening to our story. Thank you for supporting us. You know, we're so happy to get
And let's
there.
know if you enjoyed listening to that, and if
you want to hear more.
Yeah, more. If you want to hear more,
Yeah.
drop your request in the comment section.
Bye.